following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong language, violence, and nudity. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome, Barflies. Got a great crew here. Got Tooch, C-Dub, KB. All great chat as always. Welcome to the Barroom Network Barfly Tailgate Show, and welcome to Week 5 of the NFL season. I don't know about you fellas. We're going to get into it, but this is one of my favorite weeks. This is why we need the Bears to be better and better every year, because when they're fantastic, they play in primetime games, which means that we have weekends where Sunday is stress-free. We can just watch whatever football we want. So welcome, everybody. Good morning. It's 7:03 a.m. here in West Coast. I kid, but California time. I'm going to go just around the room here. So, KB, let's kick it to you. How you doing, my man?
Your boy's doing good, man. We up ready to roll and actually talk about something I didn't think anybody thought we would talk about. Goddamn Bears won the game.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? So, listen, we're gonna kick a few things out there. You know what I'm saying? Have a little fun today. It was a lot of smiles.
Yes, sir. Tooch, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. Yeah, I'm calling in from the road. The holiday weekend here, and the Bears, off for the weekend. Took the family to Kansas City. It's about 2.5 hours from Des Moines. So we went to the Kansas City Zoo, which is beautiful. And they have a brand new aquarium, which is also beautiful. And then, barbecue last night. And then we're going to the amusement park, Worlds of Fun, which was built by Chiefs owner, late Lamar Hunt. So we'll be doing a little amusement park action, then heading back to Des Moines. And last night, of course, KC barbecue, man, went to Fiorella's Jack Stack. And, man, it did not disappoint. It was a long wait. But, man, beautiful restaurant in Lee's Summit, Missouri. And, man, the barbecue was great. But, yeah, the Bears, I'm super happy. I was staying backstage. I'm super happy I lost that bet. Commanders lost the game because I love these players. I love Justin Fields. I love DJ Moore. And those two guys balled out, man. And now I don't feel any pressure when we play these primetime games. I know we got a couple coming up here. I was afraid, we're going to get blown out. And I'm super happy that the streak ended. And I'm super happy for the players. I hate this coaching staff, Jordan. I just hate them. I don't like the coaching staff. So I was kind of in the mindset of I want the Bears to have high draft picks so we can, get back to winning on a consistent basis rather than, a 14-game losing streak, then win. I want us to be competitive every week. In the first 4 weeks, we weren't that competitive, Jordan.
Yeah, I get you, Tooch. I think we'll find some common ground there.
Yep.
To my man across the pond, Chris Watts. How are you this morning, sir?
Good morning, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm great. What a week to be a Bears fan from last Sunday's great low and frustration to Thursday night's game where we actually got a victory. So it feels like we might have the monkeys come off us back. But yeah, it's always one of the highlights of the week is to chat football with you guys. And like Aldo says, I think Tooch should get the Father of the Year award. And it's just it's like you said actually. Even though they're not playing today, it does feel.
Oh, we lost
Chris. He was really
lost
getting
Chris.
into it there.
Well, if he
Man.
comes back, we'll certainly kick it back to him.
He's going to be in Chicago in a couple weeks.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I think he was going to get into that. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I
but-
might have to drive out for that.
Yeah, if when he gets back in, we'll certainly kick it back to him. Well,
But
gentlemen,
yeah, the Justin Fields, played like we all had hopes that he would play, that way. So it was nice to see. Joe, I was afraid in the second half they'd get conservative. They did get a little conservative. I know that there's the report out there that Eberflus is like, we're going to attack. It still was kind of conservative. I think you probably all agree with me in the second half. Even though he said we're going to attack. Challenge his coaches, challenge the players. But man, I just don't think Eberflus is that good of a coach overall. I think the players got sick of losing, and rightly so. And they followed the system that Getsy had out there, the offensive system. And Justin Fields, rather than waiting to see his man open, he threw to the place and trusted DJ Moore to be there. And DJ Moore was there. That might have been a Bears record. Was it 260 receiving yards or something?
230. It was going to
230.
He was what 19 yards short of when Alshon Jeffrey had that ridiculous game against the Saints.
Right.
But we still fucking lost.
Yeah. If fantasy owners got like 60 points from DJ Moore this weekend, so if you had DJ Moore on your bench, man, you are close to suicide, I think.
Yeah, well, Chris, good. Nice to have you back. I'm hoping the connection's good. And you have any final bits that you wanted to talk about before we get into it?
Yeah, just start over, Chris.
All right. No, just say it's just a blast. Always talking to you boys, and like I said, the highs and lows of being a Chicago Bears fan, man. It's bad for one's mental health. But yeah, it's going to be a great show, so let's crack on.
Absolutely. Well, Tooch, you kind of kicked us off already, but I think that let's get into it. Obviously, the star of the team, the talk of the town. Let's break down Justin Fields against the Commanders. I should really call them the Washington football team. I hate that name and hope they change it soon. But let me kind of go around to you all. And obviously, we have our statistics here, 15 to 29, 282 yards. This, to me, was kind of one of the standout moments is Justin Fields had a perfect game. No interceptions, no turnovers, no fumbles. Ultimately put over 300 yards on the board with when you combine yards with his rushing for 11 attempts for 57 yards. And then on top of that, too, I think when you have a quarterback like Justin Fields, you're always going to deal with some sacks. But that was one of the most impressive metrics to me is despite getting sacked, only taking 9 lost yards. Those are smart sacks. You're not giving up. You're not putting yourself in situations where, hey, it's 2nd and 20 because you just took a 10-yard loss. He took 3 sacks and we're less than 10 yards. That's that to me was one of the big takeaways. Just seeing him be smarter about getting the ball out or taking less foolish mistakes on getting down. Tooch, anything else before I kick it over to KB and Chris Watts about your feelings on Justin Fields?
Yeah, he ran the ball well. I think it's a season high for rushing yards for him with 57. Last season, it took a while for him to get going with those the rushing yard totals for the game. And would we like to see that every week? Yeah, that's what we're looking for is consistency. And I that's been the biggest disappointment. Is this team has not been consistent at all on offense or on defense. The defense, is still worrisome though. They came to play versus the Commanders. They were getting pressure on Howell. You saw former Bear Charles Leno out there playing left tackle. Giving up some pressure, which was nice to see too. But with Fields, man, the thing, Jordan, I think you'll agree with me, is that this season we have to see, Justin Fields do this on a consistent basis in order to properly plan for the seasons to come. Because, like you said, we've been saying on the show for a long time that next year's quarterback class has got some kids that really could be stars too, and then if Justin Fields balls out, you got to make a decision on, picking up his option, extending him, paying the money. And then if you're not enamored with the coaching staff, a new coaching staff would be Justin Fields' third in his Bears career, which is something we don't really want, But like I said, I'm not enamored with this coaching staff. I don't think we're going anywhere with them in the long run. So if Justin Fields playing well boosts his trade value, and then you'll decide whether or not you're going to draft a quarterback in next year's draft, or you're going to go for Marvin Harrison and the big Penn State kid whose name I can't pronounce. But
I'll give you one better. It's Oluwayima Fashanu.
Fashanu, if you're taking Harrison and Jr. and Fashanu next year, building around Justin Fields, that could be something that'll excite the fan base.
Fantastic. Chris, your thoughts on Justin Fields after Thursday's game? And do me a favor, what time was it for you in across the pond in England where you were watching it?
It would have been. I think the kickoff was about 1:15 in the morning, so it finished about 4:30. But I'm used to it now. This is something I've had to get used to over the last 30 years of being a Bears fan. It's like I know about the playoffs, the Super Bowl. Every game's going to be on late, so you sort of adjust your life to it a little bit through the season. But regarding Justin Fields, I mean, the turnaround that guy's managed to pull off in the last 2 games, to me, is absolutely amazing. So, compared to how he was playing in the first 3 games of this season, I don't know, a lot of that was down to the scheme what they put him in. He just like he said, he was playing quite sort of robotic. And basically, I think last Thursday was the best game he'd had as a Chicago Bears player. I really do. And I like how now he's attacking with the ball. He's actually just going, he's seen a target and he's just letting it go. And I think that was one of the problems what he had, early in the season. But I think on Thursday night, one of the good things which you mentioned is that he's had no turnovers. That was such a good. I think that was quite a big thing for him as well, not turning the ball over, especially what happened in the previous game when he fumbled that ball and then he threw the interception later on. So hats off to the lad. I mean, the mental strain what that guy must have been under over the last, not just this last 3 games, but over the last sort of year, because that won in a calendar year nearly. And I just think that shows me a lot of the guy's character. And it was so nice to see him. I saw him on the post-game show, and it was just nice to see him smiling. And you could tell that that's how he is really as a person, rather than when he's been shoved out after a loss and he's got like the weight of the world on him. So he just seems to be picking up his reads better. And I think as well the scheme is a lot better for what Justin Fields does. And I think they'll try to put a round peg into a square hole for the first 3 or 4 games of the year, which is really annoying because they've had the whole off season to get this offense scheme sorted out. But I'm just blown away by the guy's character and his mental capacity to actually turn it around. Where a lot of people might have just gone, I want out of Chicago, so I'll just play poorly or whatever. So obviously, like you said, Tucci, he's got to do this now. Every game, or he's got to be consistent now to the end of the season, so we can decide what we want to do. It's like you said, Tucci, there's a hell of a lot of good quarterbacks in this draft coming up, but overall, he's going from there to like right up there within a week, and it's just really good to see.
Yeah, when you think about it, Jordan, I think you'll agree with me. This team could very well be 3-2 rather than 1-4.
100%.
We had a chance to win in Tampa Bay, with a couple mistakes at the end in the fourth quarter. We were down 17-20, and then last week we let one get away against the Broncos. Probably should have won that game, and then we ended up taking it to the Commanders. I don't know if I said this during the show, but this was like the Patriots game of last year.
100%.
When we went into New England and we were not playing well, or had a string of bad luck or whatever, but we went to New England and it was like, Patriots are going to kill them, and they blew out the Patriots in Foxborough. This is the same thing. They went into Washington, blew them out there. It wasn't really close. I mean, at the end, if Joey Slye didn't miss that kick, I mean, I guess you could argue that maybe Washington had a chance to tie the game and Chicago wouldn't have thrown that ball to, DJ Moore on the sideline for that last score. But same situation. I should have recognized it. Getting out of town, where all the media pressure, all the fan pressure was the best thing for the team, to get out of town, put all that stuff behind them, whether it was the Alan Williams scandal, the people breaking into the equipment room at Soldier Field, Getsy and Eberflus on the hot seat, Justin Fields being traded, all that talk, they put it all behind him, went on the road and got the job done. And for me to not recognize that as a situation, that's on me. I was happy to lose my Commanders bet though and see the team. I love the players. Don't like the coaching staff. Not sure about the management. Hate the owners too.
I hear you, buddy. I hear you. Well, fantastic. I see. Obviously, Aldo's put it up here, and Aldo's working in the back here. And so, Aldo, we appreciate you for that. But Khalil Herbert, report came out this morning from Tom Pelissero that he is expected to miss multiple weeks due to that ankle injury that he incurred. So
that was gross.
Yeah,
it was like bent back under him, his leg. Weird non-contact injury. But they signed Darrington Evans today to take that roster spot. I think he was with the team last year.
Yep, brought back Darrington. It'll be interesting to see because naturally you imagine that it'll probably look like Roshan Johnson, Travis Homer, and Deontay Foreman would be the three. But bringing back
Roshan's in concussion, he might not play next week. So we see a lot of Dante Foreman next week, which good player.
Yeah, I think to me the thing that you're saying here, and I mean I see Mayhem saying Deontay Foreman needs to play, is what the Bears have done is they clearly have two different archetypes that they like. We need a shifty, fast scat back, and we need a hammer, a guy that's just going to beat and bruise the defense. And so Roshan Johnson's obviously a guy that I love, has taken that lead role there for that job. With the concussion now, obviously Foreman is that next hammer back. And then if you only have Homer because Herbert's out, who's your other scat back? Darrington Evans comes in as kind of that scat back role for this offense. Yeah, I mean,
people forget that Dante Foreman, his last year in college, he had 2,100 yards and 15 touchdowns in one season at Texas. He was really hyped coming out of college. I think he was drafted by the Texans.
Yeah, third round.
And, so, I mean, injury-plagued career last year came on with he was on the Panthers last year after they traded McCaffrey to the 49ers, had a pretty good run with the Panthers. So Ryan Poles signed him to be the hammer back, like Jordan said.
Absolutely. We got KB back in the role. KB, I'll link you when you want to talk, but I also don't want to disturb you from
keep your eyes on the road, KB.
So we're just talking about Khalil Herbert. If you want to jump in, just feel free.
Okay,
I'm parked out here at the hotel, so.
Yeah, I'm I can do the driving thing and talk back here. We'll be all right. Talking about Herbert, man. It's unfortunate. I think I just seen something where somebody said he might be down for a couple weeks.
Yep.
That's right.
That's that's a little that's a blow. I mean, I've had my fair criticisms of Herbert this year. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't feel that he's a lead back per se. I feel like he's better in that explosive running back role. And you know what I'm saying? I feel like the more complete back, in a sense, is more Roshan because you can keep him in on third downs, and it seems to be he's the better blocker. And plus, he can tote the rock, he can catch the ball, do everything you need him to do. So, I mean, with concussion protocols, maybe the 10 days off will help him get over that. But yeah, I seen that Darrington Evans got re-signed. That's a nice little pickup. I've always been a fan of Darrington Evans, man. The kid's a good kid, man. He's a good dude. He's also fast and explosive as shit too. So that should be able to hold us over until we get things figured out. Did they say anything about what's going on with Travis Homer at all?
Not that I was aware of. Nothing that I saw. Just obviously the big news this morning was Khalil Herbert out for multiple weeks.
Yeah, man. Like I said, that's gonna be a loss, man. He's a big part of the offense, and I kind of think one of the reasons why you seen the lull happen on Thursday, was because he came out and it was like, oh shit, we just lost the main guy, and we don't have anybody else to go in. Really happy for Kahari Blasingame, man. Really happy for him.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I've been waiting for them to use that guy, man, and to see him get those carries, man. And he had one really good one where he broke a tackle and spun off of it. And it was up the field for another 2 or 3 yards, man. So that's good to see, man. You get the production you need out of the players that you actually signed. You know, these are people you brought into the team for a reason. And the guy's a weapon, man. He just has to be used.
Yeah, totally agree. To me, it's like not having it ended up not biting the Bears, but not having Dante Foreman active at a position that annually has the most attrition. I think was a big mistake. I mean, running back is the position that touches the ball the most besides quarterback. They take a pounding more than the quarterback. It's a position where injuries, that and wide receiver, happen the most. They should have found another spot, I know people will say, well, rarely ever do teams get to their third or fourth running back, but we saw it happen. And Dante Foreman's a good enough player to have active every week. I know he doesn't play special teams or anything, but especially the secondary. But I didn't. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way with the coaching staff that we, had didn't have enough running backs really to finish the game. It didn't come back to bite us, but it could have.
Yeah, it's tough, and we can certainly talk about Kari Blossom game. Really, really solid game. It's funny. I think if you remember back to preseason, they had Robert Burns, a player that a lot of fans were kind of hyped about as a fullback.
Yeah.
Blossom game is very much that guy. He's not your traditional fullback that is slower. He's has a few big catches when he was with Tennessee, so he's got the athleticism to be able to fill that kind of emergency running back role. But to me, I couldn't help and obviously you're never going to know the context. You're talking about a rookie when you think of Tyler Scott or even Velus Jones, who is just a liability to be trusted with the ball in his hands. But I couldn't help but think if you needed some juice back there, Tyler Scott's a former running back. I would have maybe tried to see if he would have been able to take the rock a couple times. Even if some of your offense becomes just end arounds, little jet passes, jet sweeps, things of that sort, just to kind of supplement it. As you obviously heard Justin Fields talk at the end of the game that he knew he would have to put some of that onto his legs to carry that run game in the second half. Chris, your thoughts on Corey?
Yeah, I'm just glad that it happened to a group where we're actually quite strong in that unit regarding players. But it was scary when we were down to the fullback. But I've always been a bit sort of confused why Foreman hasn't had more playing time, because I was feeling quite high up on the guy at the start of the season, because it's a big bruising sort of back where it'd be a good sort of change it with Herbert. And also with the rookie we got as well. But you could tell like Justin Fields had to take more of the running game on because he was lowering his shoulder when he was going into contact. But we just managed to squeeze through it, didn't we? Really, we're getting a little bit squeaky bum time on the number of running backs who we had healthy at one point.
Absolutely.
Velus Jones would have been the emergency running back, Matt. Velus Jones wouldn't be on the active roster for me at all every week. That's just me. Yeah, I don't think he's very good, Jordan.
No, it's tough with him. I think he's a specialized player that needs specialized touches, and I think we can certainly spin the wheel and talk about coaches if we want. But I mean, I think that's one of the biggest issues for me is I still don't necessarily think that I see a lot of Luke Getsy tailoring his scheme to his players. That's not to say that his scheme is bad. I think that there are, the meat and potatoes, and there's efficient passing concepts. There's highs and lows. There's, there's zone beaters as well as man beaters. There's rub routes. There's all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when you're actually just talking about how well are you maximizing and creating opportunities for your players, I mean, I think that's kind of what we saw against the Commanders. Is don't get me wrong, everybody's happy they won and the passing game looked good, but when you're sitting there and you're breaking it down, it's really just, players recognizing players. Hey, I'm Justin Fields. I'm one of the best players on this field. I'm going to throw it to DJ Moore. He's going to make a play. I didn't really see, the creativity that you're hoping to see. I mean, we talk about Velus. Where's the screens for Velus? Where's a jet sweep for Velus? Where are you doing, wind backs where let him be the slice route on those rollouts to where you can get him the ball just kind of sifting behind the line of scrimmage? There's none of that. And I think that to me is, like I said, I don't want to indict Luke Getsy. I think that he does the best he can, but I don't see the creativity that I would hope for out of
Couldn't you line him up in the backfield and send him out on a wheel route, So something like that. But I wanted to ask you, Jordan. I know I had mentioned that it took a while for this team to get going with Getsy's offensive system, and of course we have to mention the Chase Claypool being traded to the Dolphins. For what amounts to a swap of 6th and 7th round picks in a year from now, or a year and a half from now.
A bag of potato chips, essentially.
Yeah, basically nothing. We spent the 32nd overall pick, and I'm gonna reference JT O'Sullivan's first few videos on the Bears, and Claypool was in a lot of those, featured in a lot of JT O'Sullivan's breakdowns of not being in the right place or not reading the coverage or the route right. He was a hot man and didn't turn around for being the hot route. How much do you think that played a part in the Bears parting ways with Claypool, aside from the personality conflict with the coaching staff, the diva attitude, and I want to know what you think about whether or not he was understanding the playbook, because that was a knock on him last year. He wasn't up to speed with the playbook, and this year it looked like it was the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is nobody's really going to know how well he knows the playbook, except those that are in there, in that building. But certainly when you're watching him play, it looks like there's a disconnect in his assignments and his ability to recognize effort where he needs to be, concentration, catching the ball, things of that sort. So to me, it's I don't want to call it a tragic situation, but it's unfortunate. I was a guy that was a proponent of Chase Claypool, still am for many reasons, and I'm not here to make excuses and abscond the guy from any fault that he had in Chicago. But I also think, I think what rubbed me wrong was the straw that broke the camel's back. If you want to cut him, or you want to decide that we're going to inactivate him and make him trade bait after that first game where he was just totally loafing it out there, that would be the time. But I mean, he was asked, I'll take the guy's defense a little bit. He was asked by Courtney Cronin, hey, do you think that the coaches have used you right? And then it's not like he was like, no, I haven't. They suck. They're the worst coach. It took 7 seconds to kind of collect himself, think, how should I answer this? And I'm going to commend the guy for being honest, because I don't think that Chase Claypool is being used correctly. And I don't think
if he would have said, they're using me correctly, we would have all said bullshit.
Yeah. No, it's tough. So it's one of those things where I wish him nothing but the best. Hopefully he finds success. And I mean, certainly I think that led to a lot of the frustration on his part. Is he understands I'm in a contract year. I want to get paid. I want to extend the lifetime of my career.
That pressure was definitely there. But look, the reason I was against the trade, because second round pick, my whole thought was we could draft someone better than Chase Claypool with the second round pick. I would have given up maybe a 4th at most for him, but the Steelers, they fleeced Ryan Poles. That's one of the reasons why I don't trust Ryan Poles fully, because I think it was Greg Gabriel or someone, I don't know, maybe it wasn't Greg Gabriel. Someone had the story out there that they had put pressure on Poles by saying, well, the Packers are offering their second. You better make a decision here pretty quick. And it's a rookie GM mistake. That's why I don't like hiring rookie GMs, because look at, it ended up costing us a high draft pick, and now the players ain't even here.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I will say, I think that to me, I had told Aldo at the time, who would ask me, what would you be willing to trade for him? I said, I think a 3rd round's my sweet spot, but and we can certainly, I want to pass to KB and Chris, but I think to me, the problem is that it's a 32nd overall pick, so it really stings a lot of people. Yeah. And I'm not saying it shouldn't, but when you actually take context of the entire situation, the Roquan trade, the Dan Feeney trade, a lot of different moving parts, it really becomes.
Yeah, why haven't we seen Feeney?
Well, because again, I don't know if players are used to the best of their ability here. They're inactive 1 week, things of that sort.
Good point.
KB, do you have any thoughts on the Claypool trade?
Yeah, because I was gonna say you actively liked and retweeted some of the posts I made about that. My thing is this: if people are gonna be upset and angry about what a player says and wants to dissect what a player said, then all the players should come in with the Marshawn Lynch mentality of answering questions. I'm just here not to get fined, because that's your media department asking that question. That means she was told to ask that question, so she asked it. So when you get an honest answer, you shouldn't be butthurt when a player comes out and he's honestly answering how he feels. Nobody feels that Chase Claypool is being used the right way. We all actively said that none of the players on offense were even being used the correct way. So, you have your quarterback coming out saying that it's the coaching that's fucking them up, and you have players on other teams telling players actively they're not using you the right way. Don't get upset when somebody comes out and they let the truth out. So like I said before, that would make me as a player come out and I will give you bullshit so that you can get the word soup that you would always get. Oh yeah, we had a good week of practice. Oh, what do you think about the game? Blah blah. Game was good. We lost. We're trying to get better. Those would be my answers to everything. So like I said, I commend Chase Claypool for that. I wish him the best of luck in all his further ventures. Who knows? Maybe the Dolphins get him to play to the ability that he needs to play to. Mike McDaniels is a hell of an offensive schemer. So,
yep.
Like I said, I give him all the flowers in the world and wish him the best going forward. And as far as the Dan Feeney thing, because that's something that I didn't even think about. The fact that y'all traded for the dude and he's not even, I get it. He's a backup. I get it. He's not a starter right now in this league, even though he could be possibly on this line. We do need a center. Dan Feeney can play center. So, I mean, it was kind of spot duty because you see Whitehair come in at the last minute to play. I don't know if his hand's still messed up or whatever the case may be, but you got the high snaps, you got the really low snaps. Justin Fields is out there trying to be a magician and catch these balls. That's going to end up hurting us. In the one play he turned into something, it kind of looked like it was going to hurt us for a second. So it's always that worry with Cody Whitehair. If Dan Feeney can do a little better, man, I wouldn't mind seeing him at center right now.
Hey, before I get out of here, guys, want to thank you for letting me pop in from the road.
Of course.
I've got to take the kids to the amusement park here. And, the whole thing with Claypool was, I'm sad it didn't work out because, there's talent there. It's just that the trade for a second-round pick, you only had him for like a year and a half, and when you would have had to make a decision on a big contract. Whereas if you drafted somebody in the second round, you control them for 4 years. But that's the kind of things that polls will have to learn from. But
absolutely.
I'll talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Thanks for letting me pop in.
You as well, too. Enjoy the day with the family.
All right, my man.
All right,
later.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Chris, you're our final answer here. You have any thoughts on the Claypool thing before we officially close the book, close the chapter, close the door on that tenure?
Yeah, I mean, the thing what sort of worried me was like KB mentioned, it wasn't what he said to the media because he's just being honest to himself, and that's how he looked. That's how he felt about the coaching staff. The thing what worried me is when Justin Fields said last week, going, I've had to talk to the guy about his attitude more or less, and to try and get him to be a team player and be a part of it. I think a lot to do with it is also that Claypool's been a part of the team, on this massive big losing streak, and I just don't think it were mature enough to take that situation on and make the right changes and be a part of the change. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been a part of these last 2 weeks. But, I don't hold any grudges against players. I hope he does well wherever he goes. And, for me, it's never sort of really personal regarding players and coaches. I just like to look at them on a professional level. Because I don't know them as people. So I don't like to judge people that way. But it's just a shame it didn't work out. And it's like you said, Jordan, using that, number 32 pick, it's such a downer that, we could have got somebody high up in the draft, what could have filled the position which we had a need for. So, it's that situation, but I think the club's moved on now, and good luck to the guy in the future.
Sounds good. Well, I see Matthew Fochese talking about it, and we got KB here, and before he goes, we have to talk about Cuzzo. So, can we talk about Big Baby Billings, please? Rumble, young man, Rumble. He is going from one acquisition of Ryan Poles that hasn't worked out very well. I take joy in this. I really should. I mean, KB, it's really you, but I take some pride and joy in saying that we all collectively helped recruit Andrew to Chicago well before he even signed the deal. And he's definitively looking like the best acquisition that Ryan Poles has made, probably in his entire tenure thus far, outside of DJ Moore, of course. And that that's a special trade. You're trading out the number one spot, but for just free agent acquisitions, Andrew Billings has looked like arguably the best defensive player on the field. And I'm excited to say we kind of planted our flag early there and said that. So KB, no other than me to kick it to you and go talk about Cuzzo and his impact.
Man, first of all, just being excited to see him playing the way he's playing, to see the recognition he's getting is also another thing, man. It's one thing when it's us saying it because hey, we got this vested in it. This is family. This is somebody we know of. This is somebody we didn't talk to. You know what I'm saying? So on and so forth. But you see people all over. Damn. PFS got Billings the best rated defensive lineman, man. Hey, watching this tape, man. Yeah, the defensive line might be trash, but hey, that 97, bro, he's pushing the pocket. He's getting in the backfield. It's amazing to watch. And then you kind of get the feel of this game, and you're watching it, and just like, man, are we gonna be able to make the stops? Are we gonna get these big plays? Sure enough, Cuz come through, blows up a fucking run in the backfield for a 3-yard loss. And I'm like, yo, there we go, baby. I'm getting texts from everybody. Hey, we see Cuzzo out there doing it. Yeah, man. He said what he was going to do, man. He's going to come in. He was going to put his head down. He was going to work. And you seen it. That's what's coming to fruition, man. He dropped that little weight that he needed to drop, and he's doing everything that he needs to do. I'm still waiting on that sack. I think we all are. But other than that, man, you see a lot of the major runs don't come up the middle, man. If you getting a run up the middle, it's gonna be for minimal yardage, but they run away from that man actively, and you see why he blows those plays up, man. And I'm loving every moment of it. I'm loving every moment of it. I'm just as much as I know y'all are, man. He might be family for me, but I know y'all boys are vested in him too, man. So that it's just a good feeling. Amongst the bad things that have been going on this year, it's just a good story and a good feeling to have, man. I'm proud of him, man. I love the man to death, man. He's doing his thing.
Absolutely. Chris, what have you been seeing from Andrew Billings, our resident NFL guest here?
Yeah, well, Andrew Billings, friend of the show. It's just absolutely awesome, mate, what he's been doing on the pitch. And one of my favourite plays from Andrew last week is when their running back managed to get out, and it was just the pursuit what Andrew made to get this running back down from behind. But a guy who is that big, he just never stopped. His agility, like people always say, play to the whistle. Well, Andrew Billings plays to the whistle and then to the next fucking whistle. You know what I mean? And I'm so sort of happy for KB. And yeah, like you do, you feel like you're a little bit part of it, but I just think he's been the best player on defense this season. And for me to pick up on a defensive lineman, then that shows like he's like outstanding. And I just wish I hope he continues this, and I hope we sign him for next year if he continues like this. And I'm just so happy for KB, man. And you can tell like the national media started talking about him now. And it's just his non-stop. He's got a motor doesn't stop, and yeah, it's one of the highlights of the defense so far this year. Definitely has been Andrew Billings.
Yeah, it's I'll be interested to see what that looks like if he even makes it to the end of the season before they find a way to extend him. It's early. You need to see it a little more, but to me, it's you talk about rewarding talent, rewarding those that come in, buy into the culture, play like you want the team to play. And to me, Andrew Billings has shown nothing but that. I'd be very interested to see what that contract looks like. But at 28 years old, I would imagine he's looking at probably a 3 to 4 year payday here in Chicago if he wants to stick around.
Hey man, you seen him on that new blitz that we had, man. He was coming off the sideline, running at the quarterback. Now I said, all right, cuz, I see you.
Well, I laughed because, we had Barlissimo in the chat talking about his lateral agility. And I'm sure you remember, KB, when we were interviewing him, I was talking to him about, I know they're going to play you at the one, but I had you as like some 3-tech talent coming out of Baylor, and he's like, yeah, they let me play 3-tech against the Raiders, against the Steelers last year when I was with the Raiders. I was blowing it up, backdooring plays, and I'm not at all campaigning to say that he needs to do anything different. He's doing a great job at the 1-tech, but that is what makes him so special. Is not only is he a brute force with his hands and he's just a run stuffer, but he shows enough agility and enough of a pass rush toolbox to be able to kind of explode through and get in the backfield and disrupt. And if you're getting that from your 1-tech, now you just need to figure out the other position at 3-tech. And
yeah, you got to get that 3-tech figured out. Hey man, it's fun to watch, man. You sit there and look and you see it's like, man, you getting this gigantic push up the middle on some of these pass plays, and then kind of zoom in a little bit. Oh, that's cuz. Yeah. All right, man, go ahead and do the damn thing, boy. You getting back there? Just got to get home on a couple of these. That's all.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Well, Matthew Fochese, I hope that 10-minute or so, however long it was, takes care of the Andrew Billings, love fest that we can throw his way. He deserves it. Like I said, I'm hoping that he sees a big payday. Moving to the other interior defensive lineman, though, that got a lot of buzz this week was Gervon Dexter. Gervon Dexter had arguably his best game, had quite a few pressures. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not here to bring down the mood. The Bears won a game. That's all we ever wanted. But I think that, to me, I'm on the record of Gervon Dexter is one of the players I wasn't as high on when he was selected. I like to see him improving. I have a lot of questions in general about this Commanders team, and it felt just very much – we talked about the Patriots game last year that the Bears kind of – I don't want to say all the credit to the Bears, but I can't help but feel like they kind of snuck up on the team. I think that you had the Patriots last year and the Commanders this year that kind of felt like the Bears weren't a legitimate, talented team, and they got smacked in the mouth with it. And then you combine in the fact you have Sam Howell, a rookie quarterback who's taken the most not a rookie, but essentially a rookie with how much he's played, the most sacks in the league at this point. I believe he's taken, holds onto the ball forever. And then the interior offensive line of that Commanders team is piss poor. So I think that there's a reason potentially to explain the Dexter improvement, but nonetheless, we'll take it. What did you gentlemen think about Dexter? Chris, I'll go to you first.
I just think that with Eberflus throwing up a lot more blitzes out to our defensive linemen, because we were struggling to get any sort of pressure just from the front four. And I just think with all the blitzes what he started bringing in, especially the second half, helps out the rookie. So yeah, it's just good to see somebody sort of improve, really, because I think that's one of the sort of things we moan about. We don't seem to see players sort of get coached up or improve, the talent. And I think really just with the defensive calls what Eberflus made, I just think that helped out the interior anyway. And also, playing next to Andrew, then that's got to help anybody. Absolutely.
KB, your thoughts on
Man,
Big Dex?
It's nice to see him coming along. He's somebody we invested a decent pick in, man, and especially after all the hate for us apparently not drafting Jalen Carter when, Darnell Wright is out here pancaking people on pools and shit. And, looking very solid in his own right. But it's nice to see him actually getting out and taking the steps and look like he's improving. So it's not like the situation we had all those years ago when we drafted Will Sutton and can't remember the other cat's name out of LSU. Ego Ferguson, yes. Where it was just like, all right, man, y'all both are just overblown. Y'all are very overrated. It's not what we thought it was gonna be. So I'm glad to see him working through some things, man. I know he got a couple pressures. I know one of the pressures actually came on a fucking screen pass where he was literally left unblocked. And I probably would have beat his ass if he didn't get the pressure that he got. So you got to get the freebies when you get them, man. Like I said, we just got to take it one step at a time with him. You got to stack the games, stack the practices, do what you got to do. And what I'm saying? Keep praying and hoping that he turns out to be what they're hoping him to be. I still think they have him played out of position. Would love to see him be more of a 1-tech and letting Pickens be the 3-tech. But as far as Pickens goes, man, we haven't really seen all the noise out of him that I wanted to see so far. So happy about the progress of Big Dex, man. Happy for it, man. Just he needs to keep it going.
Yeah, it's funny. I think that you talking about it, KB. I think we're seeing some of it, and this is certainly something I've been kind of pounding the table for, even as earlier as this week. Is just saying I'd really like to see Pickens play the 3-tech and Dexter play the 1-tech, and obviously that creates some complications when you got Andrew Billings balling. But Bears Twitter extraordinaire Robert Schmitz actually posted a few videos of Trevon Dexter showing off a couple pass rushes from playing that 1-tech, from playing nose tackle, and so Aldo's going to put it up here. Just to kind of show the audience. And so here he is, winning, just bowling back that center for the Commanders and finding a way to pressure and getting that ball out. So to me, everybody likes to take kind of, a round of applause when you're writing on evaluation. Certainly we'd like to do our victory laps. But to me, what's so impressive about Trevon Dexter is I don't even necessarily think that there's any real refinement to his game, but you're seeing him win off of just pure physical tools and talent, which is obviously what Ryan Poles is betting on. And I think that, unfortunately, we've just kind of seen him in this situation at 3-tech where we talk about Chase Claypool, like who's being maximized to their talent. And I think, obviously, you're seeing here when Dexter's being played at the nose tackle, all of a sudden he's just overpowering and overwhelming centers and guards, whereas, playing that 3-tech where you're hoping for a little more agility. I just think that's where Zach Pickens would look better.
Absolutely. Like I said, man, to me, it's a lot to be said about certain things, man. And I do want to play devil's advocate when it comes to this defense on something real quick because I'm getting close to where I got to get to.
Sure.
And I'm gonna have to jump off. All right. Now, one of the big things we all have noticed, this defense is giving up hella points and a lot of yardage, especially in the second half of games. Now, the devil's advocate in me. Would you say that Eberflus's defense is actually working for the first half of games and he's just not adjusting to teams in the second half? You look at it, Broncos last week, you had 7 points at the end of the half. This week, you had 3 points at the end of a half. If you find a way to continue that success, then you're looking at a defense, yeah, we might give up a lot of yards because that's just the way the defense is set up to play, but we're not giving up the points. So we all have our gripes about this defense. Absolutely, they deserve to be talked about. Pretty much, I hold them the most accountable in the Broncos loss. But you two gentlemen, do you feel that the Eberflus defense is actually working to a certain extent?
I certainly could go, deep on it, but Chris, let me pass it to you first. What do you think?
And with that being said, I'm about to hop off, guys. Y'all keep it going, man. Y'all have a hell of a show, man. Thank you to all the fans that tuned in today because we didn't know if we was going to do this or not. But, man, we love y'all boys for jumping on, man. Y'all go ahead and knock this thing out and y'all do the damn thing. Brother, I'll be back on.
KB, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourself, and we'll see you next week. All right. Well, we always deal with some technical difficulties here. Chris will be back hopefully in the near future. I'll take the time to answer the question, and we'll go from there. But to me, I'd love to hear from the chat on your thoughts on this. It's an interesting question from KB on whether you think that Eberflus's defense is working in the first half and it's just a lack of adjustments. Complicated. I think that the Bears, it's hard to judge when you have to take all considering factors in. They're playing with a secondary that is Jimmy's and Joe's from down the street here in Southern California. It's not. I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, but they're neighbor kids. You're missing Kyler Gordon. You're missing Eddie Jackson. You're missing Jalen Johnson. Tyreek Stevenson's learning on the fly. I mean, obviously, you're seeing some promise from guys like Terrell Smith, but I think that the defense needs a secondary. They're missing that, and you inherently are trying to kind of figure out what that defensive front looks like. You're not getting a ton of pressure from your defensive ends. Your interior defensive line looks like it's starting to come along. Tremaine Edmonds has his moments. TJ Edwards is a tryhard that finds his way to the ball. So I think that there's some promise in the personnel, but I think that to me is where nuance is required, and it gets a little difficult in trying to parse out how much of this is Eberflus's scheme working, how much of it not working, what about the personnel, who's in, who's out. To me, I think they do a decent job stopping the run. I think that to me, it's on a schematic level, and I'm certain, we'll have people like Swift Sports Network in the chat that watch the All-22. You've got, George Berlissimo that watches and does breakdowns on the film. Robert Schmitz, who we've already alluded to. The situation is that scheme is just very static. It doesn't have a lot of you speak about nuance. It doesn't have a lot of change ups to it. It doesn't have a lot of deception. You often hear, and much to some people's chagrin, I as much as I'm a Bears fan, I watch a lot of the NFL, and to me, I would always tell people, go watch a game of Dan Quinn calling that Dallas Cowboys defense. Go watch, Jeff Ulbrich from the Jets call that defense. You can call static coverages, quarters, cover two, but it's about the personnel and how you get into those looks that can hopefully throw quarterbacks for a loop. And I don't think that we've necessarily seen that from the Bears. As a matter of fact, and this is kind of to the Dexter point of view, and I know that, I see George Berlissimo talking about like, well, he's developed certain moves and all that, and yes, we're getting there, but at the same time, you're a pro. I'd hope you have more than just, I'm just developing my first move. Well, similarly with a defensive scheme, I would hope to see more from a professional that's paid millions of dollars, who's now running, he's the head coach, but he's running his defense the way that he would see it, not Alan Williams' rendition. And to what we're seeing is everybody says they want more pressure, they want more blitz. We're getting some of that. But at the end of the day, I don't want to call it elementary, but it's a nickel blitz. It's a cross out. It's a linebacker coming through the A. It's not necessarily anything exotic. And I don't know if that speaks to the players and where they're at, if that speaks to the coaches not having trust, but it's a unique situation to say the least. Like more press on third down to stop the free releases. Smitty, I think that we would share some of the same opinions here. I think that, to me, I'm looking at Tyreek Stevenson as a guy that would excel putting his hands on people, getting grubby with just stunting people, just jabbing a hand in their chest. And unfortunately, this is what we talk about when we say static is, you're playing off coverage. I get it. We want to have eyes on the quarterback, be able to drive on routes. But I also think that when you're asking a guy that's better at press coverage to play off and to play instinctively and understand route distributions, I think that Tyreek Stevenson, I know he gets a lot of shit. He's actually one of the players that I'm most impressed by from this rookie class, and I think that he's doing a good job. When you think about Kyler Gordon last year and what he looked like in comparison, I think Tyreek Stevenson's holding up okay. I mean, some of the ugly plays, I can't help but think of that Mike Evans one where Mike Evans pushed him off, should have been a penalty. So there are moments where it's been rough, but when you speak about more press on third down to stop the free releases, that's absolutely a salient point. I would argue just get some more press in general. You want to make this is just, and it's a philosophical thing, but when we're talking about defensive versus offensive play, the Vic Fangio way, and Vic Fangio is fantastic, and that whole tree is great, and you need a lot of specialists. But to me, it also if we're talking Vic Fangio, let's dumb it down to the Eberflus level, this cover two defense. You are telling the offense, we would like you to dictate the terms to us. I'm going to play off coverage. I'm going to let you I'm going to watch it play out, and then I'm going to react. Oh, we're going to, rally to the ball. And I think that, to me, it's a situation where when we talk about playing press coverage, I like to be able to dictate the terms to the offense. Sure, receiver, you can run whatever you think you're going to run, but not before I can jab a hand into you. Chris, you're back. How are you, sir?
Can you hear me, Jordan?
I can hear you, sir. Little delay, but I can hear you. Oh, we lost him again. Well, technical difficulties. Who do we else have? We have here. George saying we call pass rush on the edge like a special teams coordinator calls kickoffs. I mean, that's the thing too, George, is Eberflus blitzes his ass off because he has no choice but to blitz. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too. And we can certainly spin the wheel and talk about it. I know that, Danny Shimon, resident scout here on the Barroom Network, and does Bear Football, the halftime show in the post game with Aldo last week, was talking about having some discourse regarding whether Ryan Poles really deserves to stick around in Chicago after this year. And I think that this is another nuanced and interesting argument. I mean, I'm talking here to George's point about, pass rush on the edge, and, is it the chicken or the egg? At some point, do we have to sit here and look, is this Matt Eberflus's defense just not finding enough bite or teeth in the edges of that defense to create pressure off the edge. And, the other comment about, well, you have no choice but to blitz. Sure, but how can we maximize those edges? I mean, you signed Yannick Ngakoue. Yannick Ngakoue has game. Why is he not able to capitalize? And I understand he's, I'm sure that's the thing too, is Yannick has been other places. Max Crosby's the better pass rusher. He's been with the Ravens where they've had other options that demanded more attention. Calais Campbell, I believe, was there at the time. So it becomes a different game where all of a sudden Yannick Ngakoue, who to me, in my opinion, is a little better of a Robin than a Batman. And you're seeing a situation where he now has to be the Batman in this defense and is having to do things that cause a lot more focus on him. So how do you free up a guy like him into, George, who's saying wants to contain on the outside and push the pocket from the inside? We've talked about this too, George, is this idea of you want to dent the pocket. I mean, I had put out a thread on Twitter months ago about the idea of the Walkers, the Dexters, the Pickens. We want to dent the pocket and just collapse it that way, and not suffer these soft edges where all of a sudden we're rushing too far upfield and the quarterback's going to escape out. So it's a style of play, but I also, to your point, George and others, I'm sure, they do need to blitz, in my opinion. If you're going to have to blitz, then do it a little more creatively. And to me, that's running. They do run some games, but one of the things that, I even think back to Sean Desai, that when he was here, is he was fantastic at finding a way to get one-on-one matchups through blitzes, through schemes, through games. Let me find a way to get one of my pass rushers a designed play where he's one-on-one, and now I'm just asking a Jimmy and a Joe to win out. And I think that is the ideal way to try to get some more pressure from the outside. Try it again with the British Bear, and we'll work on that in the background. Swift, you were saying Ryan Poles has drastically brightened his team's future. Yeah, I think I'd be interested to hear from you all in the chat whether you think Ryan Poles deserves another time. I think, to me, and I don't mean to be so doom and gloom, but I was talking to Aldo backstage, that I think that at the end of this season, however it goes, and obviously it's early, the Bears rip off 13 more wins or whatever the case may be. How could you possibly fire the coaches? But I also think we have to live in reality. I don't see them doing that. To me, I think that everybody under Poles, it's no discussion, you need to just rinse. And we could talk about why that is. But when it comes to Ryan Poles, I think to that comment, to that discourse that Aldo and Danny Shimon were having about whether Ryan Poles deserves another year, I see it both ways. I think that absolutely Ryan Poles hasn't had a chance to see those draft picks play out. He's certainly had some misses in free agency and the Chase Claypool trade, but he's also had some hits. DJ Moore was a hit. Darnell Wright looks good. Kyler Gordon looked good before he was hurt. Roshan Johnson's played well. So it's a situation where I can see him earning another year, but I also could see a situation where if you're looking for whatever reason to start over, bring in a new quarterback, timelines, things of that sort, it also would certainly make sense. And we've seen it with the Cleveland Browns most recently, when I believe it was Sashi Brown that was there. He was collecting all of those picks and then didn't even get to make them before they brought in John Dorsey, I believe, is the one that started cashing them in. So it's a situation where maybe they just let Ryan Poles build up the capital, and then for some reason, if the Bears don't improve significantly throughout the rest of the season, we may see a situation where he leaves as well. Chris, you're back, and I see you moving. I think we can hear you perfectly fine.
Yep. Can you hear me fine? Okay, Jordan. Yeah, sorry about, man. Everything just died on me. The internet went down. The tablet went down, so I'm on my phone. So I hope you can hear me all right anyway.
Yep. No, I can hear you perfect. So we're just talking about Ryan Poles, what his tenure so far, what's worked out, what hasn't. I see, Don Burr, resident troll, Ryan Poles is Brad Holmes' student. He follows his lead. Brad Holmes has done a good job building the team in Detroit. And I certainly could wax poetically about that, but I know this is Bears Landia. We're not going to get that here. George Flusas and his guy and pulled in some good picks. It's tough, George. I hear that a lot. And Chris, I don't know your thoughts on this, but it's a situation where, everybody will now sit here and play the card of, well, Eberflus was selectively chosen and married to Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles didn't get a say. And as much as I think that it appears that way, in the inner dealings, you also at some point have to hold your GM accountable, which is Ryan Poles was asked directly when he was hired and has reiterated numerous times that, no, I had an opportunity to select who I wanted, and I picked Matt Eberflus. That was my guy. So to that point, if that's not your guy, we do have to hold you accountable for that. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
No, I completely agree with you, Jordan, really. I mean, regarding polls, I mean, he has had a few misses, with draft picks like Velus Jones and a few, and obviously with the Claypool situation. I think sometimes he's been a bit naive, like we mentioned earlier on the show regarding when he got Claypool from Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh completely did a stitch-up job. So, I mean, I don't know if that's just down to his inexperience or maybe the lack of people around him who might have seen that situation going. But I'm quite happy to sort of give him another couple of years or another year. I'm more sort of like, let's move on from his coaching staff at the end of the year, unless it really turns around and we got a bit of a run like Detroit did last year. But I think it's just a trouble that you're hiring people who are learning on the job. I know he's been in the personnel department at Kansas City, but he wasn't the GM there. And like I mentioned on the show last week, we had a new GM, new head coach, new coordinators. There's a lot of people there who have not done that particular job already. So I think Poles is on a bit of a learning curve, to be honest. I mean, he's not my biggest sort of worry regarding the team. It's the coaching, really, and is this sustainable? What this coaching can actually bring, results like week in, week out. That remains to be seen. But regarding Poles, I think he's probably going to be safe for at least another year or so, I would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think those are salient points, and I don't want to say that I'm ready to fast forward past this Bears season. We're going to miss football as soon as it's gone, but I also find myself eager and yearning to see what is next, what's in the horizon, because unfortunately, like I said, I'm sure I said this numerous times. I'm sure Matt Eberflus is a fantastic gentleman. I'm sure he's a nice guy. No problems about that. I don't see a guy that is putting it together in a way that I would imagine. You hire him for. I've equated him kind of to the John Fox. You had this coach in Matt Nagy before who kind of let the building get out of control. You need to reel that culture in and build that discipline back to the team. And in many ways, I think you can sometimes see that. But I also think, we had somebody earlier talk about, the difference between some other defenses and ours is, missed tackles, missed assignments, mental errors. And to me, if you're not doing much else, then I would hope as a culture guy, you're finding a way to get your guys fired up and playing smart and fast. And I don't necessarily think we see that. And more importantly, I mean, this is more of I think you can certainly indict Ryan Poles on this, but he's done a lot of shopping for getting the groceries for Matt Eberflus. And it's not that Rome is built in a day, but at some point, like, we just have to look at these personnel decisions and go, well, why is Javon Dexter playing the 3 and Zach Pickens is playing the 1? Is it maybe that you're the smartest guys in the room, Borgonzi, Flus, etc., or is it just, again, not that it's me, but you have many reputable draft analysts, Dane Brugler and otherwise, seeing it looking different than that, and all of a sudden, hey, we've gotten you Kyler Gordon, and you decided to make him a nickel, and it's not that Kyler Gordon can't be a nickel. Maybe he looks good as a nickel now, but we had to go through a year of him just getting his head kind of smashed in, essentially trying to build in a new understanding of how to play this position. And at a certain point, the position issues scare me. It's also some of just the personnel. You tell me that you want, your Urlacher in a sense, this big athletic linebacker that can play pass. And at the same time, I don't necessarily see him making an impact in the passing game. As a matter of fact, we talk about the fact that your run defense is doing okay, but you're getting eaten up in the pass. So I think there's these holes that I can't help but always focus back on. Well, Eberflus, you need to be held accountable for that.
I mean, what I think regarding that, God, I've got a brain freeze, Jordan. Is sort of. I mean, Eberflus has had to do a lot of injuries in the back of the defense. Luckily, I mean, I don't think he's the long-term answer to the Bears, but you got to say that under all the pressure that guys had over this last couple of weeks, that like we all say like coaches have got egos, and that's why like Nagy, like he wanted the players to fit his players rather than the players to fit the players, just because of the arrogance of it. He wanted to come over as like a legendary offensive guy. But I'd have to give hats off to Ruthless. At least he's sort of listened to people. At least he's actually changed the scheme. At least he will bringing more pressure onto the opposition's quarterback and on Thursday. And I think that shows a lot of character to the guy. But I just don't think long term is our answer. But yeah, I mean, I think he's had a lot of deal with a lot of defensive back injuries. A lot of players as well, like you mentioned, Jordan. Not really played up to their price tag, like Edmonds and the other linebacker we brought in from Philadelphia. They really haven't lived up to what their potential, what it should be. But I'm happy that he got his win, and it might just be like I say, it might just be like that monkey off his back. But I think it'll be telling more over this next sort of 2-3 games. If it just goes back to the inconsistency in play calls and coaching like it was at the start of the season, then that should show the sign that this will like the New England game of last year, that we just managed to all come together and make it happen. But I must admit, one of the things what did sort of really impress me, and I don't know if you mentioned this when I will cut out, Jordan, is the offensive line play. I was really impressed with the offensive line on Thursday. To say they were going against that one of the best front fours in football, I thought they played absolutely great, and it was great to see it. Jenkins back on the field. I know he's one of your favourites, Jordan. But I think, apart from some of the snaps going so high, but I thought the offensive line played really well. And, to say that it's still a bit of a group that hadn't been settled, I was really impressed by them. And I think that was a lot down to the offensive line coaching as well, which they received. And I thought, Fields was going to get absolutely mauled by Washington in this game. And the offensive line managed to stand up. And he did have some really nice pockets, man, which he needs because you can't make them long throws without getting the protection. So, yeah, I was really impressed by the offensive line.
No, I totally agree. And I certainly think we take the time to talk about that. And I know that I'm sure Chat would love to talk about some Darnell Wright. I think Darnell Wright is really shown to be a really quality, solid tackle as a rookie. And that's, as much as that may seem, you have your recent experiences. DeJuan Jones looked good. Abraham Lucas looked good last year. Charles Cross looked good. You always have recently a lot of these rookie tackles that come in and look quality. But, excuse me, I don't necessarily think that is always the case. And to see Darnell Wright come in and show the acumen, the skill, the tenacity, the nastiness has really kind of helped shore up that right side. And I'd love to take a victory lap because I've kind of really stood tall on my Nate Davis mountain, but I'm happy to also see Nate Davis back. Looks like I made a joke on Twitter that apparently you're not allowed to have bereavement anymore in the NFL. Obviously best wishes to him and his family. I think it was his mother that passed, and I can only imagine how difficult that would be. So, not that anybody, I'm small fry, not that anybody's going to listen, but for all the chat here, I mean, there's a lot of people dragging Nate Davis, and sometimes it's important to ask questions first, shoot after. And to me, I think that there's a situation where, Nate Davis is now back and looks healthy, and now your right side of your offensive line with him and Darnell Wright, just total ass kickers. Just I call them war daddies. They're just monsters. And he's not necessarily a sexy player, but he's playing well. And then, of course, now as we move over to the left side, I think not having Braxton Jones hurts. But, and Jay Sanders was saying he's not sold on Braxton Jones. But no, I'm not necessarily either, but not having him is tough. I know that, I've got a person here in George Berlissimo that I think is relatively as high on Larry Borum as me. Larry Borum I know he had a rough game. I know it's tough. And, once again, a tiny pat in the back is I was talking about Chase Young as a guy that I would have given that 2025 second round pick from Carolina to get the rights to. Chase Young is just on a mission. He's back. He is who we thought he was before he took all those injuries. So as much as do you have to slight Larry Borum a bit? Absolutely. But Larry Borum, I think, has held up relatively well as a solid swing tackle. And I don't want to say that it's Braxton Jones is the better player, but I don't think that the drop-off is necessarily as dramatic as some has thought. And then, of course, at left guard, Tevin came back on a pitch count, but when he was in there, was making plays, and is clearly one of the best offensive linemen. So it's a work in progress. But to your point, Chris, I think that the offensive line can and should be playing better, and we're hoping that this extended time together. Tevin's only getting healthier. Nate Davis is getting back. Darnell Wright's who he is. Larry Borum hopefully solidifies even further. They've got to figure out what are you doing at the pivot? Are you keeping Cody Whitehair there? Is it Lucas Patrick? Is it Dan Feeney? Jatire Carter's obviously buzzing around. So there's some promising prospects, but I think to me while it's a work in progress, there's promise, and that's what you want from this Bears team. From an offensive line you've not been able to see as quality for years and years and years. And to me, I think that they are, if you want to take a negative view on it, it's probably the center, the left guard, and the left tackle that you need to focus on. But I only say that because Tevin Jenkins can't seem to stay healthy. But if you're optimistic and you think that Tevin Jenkins is your guy, then really all you have to worry about is your center and your left tackle. And I only say left tackle because by all accounts, when you're hearing Braxton Jones has a neck injury, I've never heard of a neck injury that's easy peasy, no problem. Yeah. So to me, we're still a couple pieces away. But I see plenty in the chat talking about the draft coming up in April, and there's quality offensive tackles in this class, so maybe you pick up a tackle there. To me, I certainly who would I be to say don't take a tackle? I think the tackles are important. To me, I've always said that the blindside tackle is the most important offensive lineman. So if you can find a way to get your left tackle, that's premier. But to me, I think it all starts up front. Any quarterback is going to have trouble when the center of his pocket is just collapsing and there's immediate pressure from the interior defensive lineman. So if you could find a way to get a quality center, that I think would really help solidify the situation up front for Justin Fields or whoever the quarterback is in the future.
Yeah. No, I agree with that viewpoint, Jordan. Really, the center position just seems to be a bit of a mystery about what to the Bears, what they're really going to do long term with that position. Really, and it's such a pivotal position on the line because obviously they make the line calls as well. But I do see the promise in that offensive line, and you got to think, it's so good seeing Nate Davis back, and I think people forget that these are human beings. I know we want to see his favorite players play. We want to see our team, win games. But if he's lost his mum, I lost my dad earlier this year, and it's such a weird period what you go through after. And he could have been really close to his mum, and it could have really affected him. So I'm glad the guy's back, and I wouldn't hold anything like that against a player who needs to take time off. Because at the end of the day, your life and your family life's more important than sport. So I'm glad he's back. But I just see it. I just hope that they can just get a nice lineup together for a few games now and see how they progress. Because I thought really that was definitely one of the high points of the game for me last Thursday, was the offensive line play.
Absolutely. Obviously, I see Aldo talking in the back with Swift and asking about Joe Alt. Joe Alt is the left tackle from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Aldo saying that Joe Alt struggled the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I think it's funny because we're talking to Bears fans. Of course, there's a clear connection to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and so to me, it's not surprising to hear a lot of Bears fans grip to a guy like Joe Alt, and obviously he's got the lineage with his father playing. I'm not at all trying to besmirch or down Joe Alt, but I don't think that Joe Alt is nearly the same player that Olu Fashanu is, and I think that it may not be talked about, and tackle is a very, very strong position in this class, but there is a definitive drop-off from Fashanu to Alt to, a guy that I'm high on that I don't think gets talked nearly enough about, or two people. And obviously you've got one with the injury is Amarius Mims from Georgia, who obviously Georgia's putting out offensive linemen yearly, and they could be quality. But to me, the big one that isn't talked about, and it's a small school, is Jordan Morgan, the tackle from Arizona, who has really shown out and impressed me every time I watch him as a pass protector. And so for draft heads in the chat, feel free to look up those. With our last 15 minutes here, obviously we stick around if you're interested in your fantasy lineups, your fantasy football. Stick around. We got Fantasy Football Goon coming up right up immediately after this at I say 8:30 a.m. West Coast time, but obviously 10:30 Central. 10:30 Central. So stick around for that. Goons will get you ready for your fantasy football lineups. Make sure that you're winning your fantasy. But inherently, for our last 15 minutes, Chris, obviously we've got this extended break. I'm excited to see what the Bears come off of looking like that. Looking how they come off looking after that break. Excuse me. But obviously, you're talking about a Vikings team that is not necessarily looking fantastic. And you think back to last year, and obviously Kirk Cousins was having his way on the secondary with Justin Jefferson. I'm curious to see if we see more of that. But what are your thoughts on the Bears coming off that long layoff and into the Vikings game?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Jordan, because I think one of our sort of concerns last year is that the Bears seem to come out from an extended break quite flat. I think we had a lot of trouble with that with Nagy. But regarding the actual game itself, I think we're going to win just because I'm going to be there. So I'm going to do a Joe Namath and give you a guarantee that we're going to win because I'm going to be there. But the thing what worries me is because obviously we've got all these injuries to the secondary, and they've got Jefferson, who's an absolute baller. So is he going to tear us apart? But I don't think our defense has been up to much. And if Justin Fields as well keeps playing aggressively but in himself, then I think we've got a good chance of winning this game. I really do. But yeah, we're going to win because I'm there, basically. That's what I'm saying. Or that's what I've been praying about anyway. But I think it could be quite an even game. I just think it's whichever team gets into the rhythm on offense first. But I think the Bears might sneak it. I think the momentum, having a bit of time off so they can get over the knocks and bruises will help. But I just think the momentum, I mean, seeing the footage of the guys in the locker room after the game on Thursday, if they could keep that sort of energy and that sort of togetherness and learn from the mistakes that were still made, and if we can just keep improving, taking little steps, I think we'll definitely give the Vikings a run for the money. But what do you think, Jordan? What's your sort of, what do you think about where the game might go?
Yeah, well, I'll certainly talk about that. But for the chat, anybody that's going to that Bears game, find a way to connect and link up with Chris Watts. He's coming all the way from across the pond to come see the Bears finally in Soldier Field, and I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to see Chicago, see a Bears game. You're going to be staying with Aldo, seeing all the great people. So if you're in the chat, you're going to that game, or you're in Chicagoland, find a way to meet up with our Barfly resident Chris Watts here. As far as the Of course. And then as far as the Vikings game, I think that it'll be interesting. I too have some concerns about, do you get too high and you come out a little flat? To me, I think the upswing, the momentum that they're carrying right now could be really positive. I think we've talked about earlier, Tooch was mentioning it, that had they found a way to close out a couple of those earlier games, you'd be looking at a much different schedule, which kind of goes to, Laz's question of, my opinion, are the Bears more likely to be 3-14 or 9-18? This, to me, is really that cascading point. The waves are crashing in, and are you either going to stick on your surfboard or are you going to fly off? And so, to me, I think that there's a situation where if you're going to make the change and trend in that positive direction, it's now or never. You've got a favorable lineup with the Vikings, who are not looking as solid as they have in the past, the Raiders, who are looking like, they're probably going to be selecting in the lottery selection of the draft. And then obviously the game after that will be the Chargers. I'll be there at SoFi for that one. They're coming into my town. So that'll be interesting there. But to me, I think that the Vikings game, it's going to be tough. You're hoping that secondary gets a little healthier, because I do think Jordan Addison and KJ Osborne and Justin Jefferson can cause some mayhem. And then you add in the fact that the one thing the Vikings don't have is they don't have a great running game, and they don't pass block exceptionally well. But also, the Bears don't pass rush exceptionally well. So it'll be an interesting pool there. As far as their defense, I said it before, and I'm going to pull in Swift's question here. Swift had asked earlier, would I still think that Justin Fields is only worth a 6th-round pick? To be clear, Swift, I had said that he was worth a 5th, maybe a 6th, but more 5th. The reality is I don't see a situation where why would all these people talking about trading for Justin Fields? Why would I want to trade for Justin Fields in the middle of a season? It's kind of the Trey Lance thing. Like, the Trey Lance will make some sense to me, because you're kind of planning for just, if Dak goes down, who else do I have? But at this point in the season, I'm bringing in Justin Fields for what? How much is he really going to be able to pick up a playbook? Is he really going to get a ton of practice reps? Is he going to make a ton of camaraderie and build with the team? It's going to cause a lot of news and fluster inside of a locker room that probably isn't desired from a lot of organizations. So to that point, I don't necessarily think that Justin Fields trading for Justin Fields makes a lot of sense. And a lot of those things I'm talking about, Swift, for clarification, is why I think that you wouldn't see a premium pick traded for Justin Fields, because it's not necessarily about the skill set or the talent. It's about the context. It's about the nuance. And we certainly don't have the time to get into it now, but that is why I think outwardly I appear more negatively on Justin Fields than a lot of others. And it's very little to do with the actual kid or the player. It's much more to do with timelines, with scenarios, with where he's at in his contract, the coaching staff, the time of the season, all of these different things. So that is, hopefully that answers your question, Swift. But to me, I think with this Vikings game, it's critical that you get off on the right foot, or otherwise you're trending. And that'll kind of answer Laz's question is, I don't mean to fence ride. They're going to go one way or the other. I don't really see a middle ground with this team. I don't think, I guess to answer your question, Laz, 9-8 is pretty optimistic, and that's pretty much a middle ground. I don't really think that exists. I think that it's either going to be, all of a sudden Justin Fields is really clicked, and all of a sudden they're exploding through, and it's becoming a top 5 offense. Or it's nope. Look, they had a nice moral victory win, and the Commanders in week 5, and then all of a sudden, they just kind of tapered off and fell off. And I hate to, I know I'm going to get plenty of criticism for this now, but to your question of the Bears more likely to be 3 or 14 or 9-8, pick one. I would be much more apt to say that they are likely to be 3 and 14. And I would hope for nothing more than to be wrong, but I just can't help but look at this. I'm going off history. We've seen Matt Eberflus win 4 games in the last 20 or so. And I think that, I don't mean to, like I said, it sounds like I'm taking all the credit away from the Bears. I don't think that's what it is, but I think the Commanders kind of got shocked or got upset. They weren't necessarily expecting the Bears to come into their town and smack them in the mouth. And so how many other teams are going to get ready for that? Divisional matchups are always hard. I think the Bears could probably pull off, as we're looking at the schedule here, and Chris, I'd be loving to hear your input on it as well. I think the Bears likely can pull off one of those Minnesota games. I think the Lions smack the shit out of the Bears. I have to be honest. The Lions are a thrashing team. I don't see a game where the Lions find a way, or the Bears find a way to beat the Lions in the division. Obviously, you close the year at Green Bay. That's the reason you're hearing me focus on these divisional matchups, is that's what's going to determine if you even have a shot at the postseason, more or less, whether you were talking about, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Browns, etc. But Chris, what are your thoughts on the schedule? Where do you see wins at?
I would definitely see a good chance of winning against the Vikings. I think the Raiders, we got a good chance against them. The San Diego game, I think that's going to be really, really tough, because their offense is sublime, and I just think it's going to be a tough game. I overall think really that, I never thought we were going to win over 10 games this year anyway. I was hoping that we could break 500, and I thought that'd be a really good progression for the team, because we only won 3 games last year, so that's still nearly tripling the results from the previous year. But I just think the couple of games that will come up now are sort of, like you said, Jordan, I think they're sort of season decided, which way the season's going to go. If we can sort of get them in 2 games, I think we can go into the second half of the season with a lot of confidence. But yeah, I think really we should beat Carolina as well. But I agree with you regarding the Lions. I think they're unfortunately they're the team of the division at the moment. But I think there's definitely winnable games, and if we can get something, even if it's something like 7-10, at least it's anything what shows improvement is enough. But I think if we do finish 7-10, I don't think this coaching staff will be back next year anyway. I think the only way these guys will be back is if we go on some sort of magical run and get a playoff berth. I think that's the only way really they can save the skin. It's due to the longevity of that losing streak, and and this so-called hits culture and all that sort of thing. So if we get to sort of over 500, I'll be really happy. But there's definitely a number of games, i.e. the Vikings and the Raiders game, which we should have a good chance of winning them games if they play like we did on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we are now at 5 minutes out from Fantasy Football Goon, so let's put in kind of our final shout-outs. Chat, I'll start, then Chris, I'll kick it off to you, and we'll get us on our way out of here.
Yep.
Chat, thank you so much for sticking around, for hanging out. Wonderful questions. Appreciate all the usuals. Ravi, Terrain, George, Bellissimo, Swift, Matthew Fochese, Laz, all the standard Barflies that hang out and help contribute to all this fantastic content. So if you like the Barroom Network, please like, subscribe. I can't say that enough. It helps the algorithm. It helps, keep the lights on for Aldo in the back here in his man cave. And then if you like this, please stick around for Fantasy Football Goon. Fantasy Football Goon will take care of all your fantasy needs. But Barroom has everything that you need, from entertainment conversation to Dan Aguirre's sex life to baseball to hockey, you name it. There's always something here for you on the Barroom Network. Excuse me. And that is Jordan Silvera. I'm the host today for the Barfly Tailgate Show, and thank you all for being here. Bear down, and let me kick it over to Chris Watts.
Yeah, cheers, Jordan. Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to thank everybody in the chat. You make the show, and you know you are, who contributes every week. I'd like to say thank you to Jordan, who's had to deal with many technical issues of people just dropping out on him, and also people having to do things. So well done, Jordan, on the hosting. And also as well, it's just just a little thing about me, that this time next week I'll be going to my first home Chicago Bears game, and this has took me from 1985 to finally get my English arse over to a Chicago Bears home game, and I can't put into words how excited I am about it. But also another thing which has come up is that I will be appearing with Mr. Shorty of the BCP channel on Fox Chicago Breakfast News as the Chicago Bears Superfan of the Week. And I think we're going to be on, I think it's sometime between 9 and 9:30. So if you live in the Chicago area, tune in, and you'll see me and Dan. And you'll be seeing probably 3 hosts what don't understand the word I'm saying. So I'm really looking forward to that. And also as well, the following week, it's going to be the Raiders game. And that weekend, I'll get to meet up with the Podfather and Dan and everybody. It's just going to be an awesome 10 days. So I know that were a little bit about me. But it's always great to chat football with Jordan, man. I always learn so much from you, mate. And just bear down, man. Let's hope they can bring this momentum over and start something special. And then we'll just see how we go. But bear down. Thank you for everybody tuning in. And like Jordan said, check out all the other shows on the Barroom Network, man. Whatever American sport you're into, basketball, baseball, obviously the Bears, then tune in, because you're not only getting all the news, you're getting it from really, really good people who got really good character about them, and they're all stand-up people, probably apart from me. So make sure you check out all the shows, and everybody have a good, safe week. And if anybody's around Soldiers Field next week, man, and recognise me, come up and say hello. So I'd love to meet as many people as I can when I'm in Chicago. So everybody take care, have a good week, and be safe.
Yes, everybody bear down. We'll see you next week. And this has been Barfly Tailgate Show. Have a great week.
Piss off, you grotty little wanker!